Your car checks the fob is 2 meters away and thieves fake it. It silently pings the fob and demands proof of distance before it starts. Nobody cracks the code. They relay it, break time equals 0, 6 is /30 seconds gone. Here's the part that stings. Keyless push-button start is now standard on most new cars. So this hits tens of millions of vehicles. And the theft is quiet. No shattered window, no crowbar, no alarm. Owners wake up to an empty driveway. And an insurer who suspects them because nothing looks broken. So how does a car this smart get fooled so easily? Start with what happens when you walk up. Long before you touch anything, the car is talking. It broadcasts a weak, short-range wake-up signal, a low-frequency pulse around 125 kHz that only carries a meter or two. Your fob hears it and answers, but not with a fixed password anyone could copy. It replies on a separate, longer-range radio band, ultra-high frequency, around 315 or 433 MHz. It sends back an encrypted rolling code that changes every single time. The car checks that code, recognizes its own fob, and unlocks. Notice what you did to make this happen? Nothing. You never pressed a button. That's the whole point, and it has a name. This is passive keyless entry and start. Passive precisely because you're passive. The car does the work silently the instant you're close enough. 2 radios, 2 frequencies, 1 encrypted conversation, and a door that opens before your hand reaches the handle. It feels like magic. It's actually a tiny negotiation happening in the air around you. But that raises a question. If the code is encrypted and changing, what is actually keeping a stranger out? Here's the clever bit and the weak spot. That wake-up pulse is weak on purpose. Engineers deliberately kept it feeble, so it only reaches a meter or 2 out from the car. The fob physically cannot hear it unless it's right there, next to the door. So when a valid fob answers, the car draws one simple conclusion. The owner must be standing here. It doesn't measure you or see you or know you. It just reasons that a signal this week could only have been heard by someone close. Proximity is the security. Distance itself is the lock. The car isn't really checking who you are in that moment. It already trusts the fob's code. What it's checking is where you are. And it checks that indirectly by trusting that a weak signal can't travel far. Think about how much rests on that one assumption. The entire system leans on the idea that nobody can stretch a 2-meter signal into something longer. Everything works as long as that stays true. So here's the obvious question a thief would ask: what if you could stretch it? Now the engine has a second, separate lock, and it's worth meeting. Even after the doors open, the car won't run for just anyone. Buried in the fob is a tiny chip, a radio frequency identification transponder, or RFID transponder. And the engine's computer, the ECU, or engine control unit, quietly interrogates it before it will let fuel and spark do their jobs. No correct chip, no ignition. This is the immobilizer, and it's the reason the old movie tricks don't work anymore. Copy the metal blade of the key. The car still won't start. Cross 2 wires under the dash to hotwire it. Dead. The engine computer simply refuses unless that transponder chip answers with the right cryptographic handshake. So a modern car actually has 2 guards, not 1. The keyless entry decides whether the doors open. The immobilizer decides whether the engine turns over. Here's the crucial part, and it's easy to miss. Both of these locks are cryptographically sound. The math is genuinely strong. Nobody in a relay theft is breaking the encryption on either one. Read that again. The crypto is not what fails. Which should bother you. If the codes are unbreakable and the engine has its own guard, how on earth does a thief drive away in half a minute? Here's where the theft actually happens. It takes 2 people and 2 small radio boxes. One thief stands near your house, close to where your keys sit in a bowl by the front door. The second stands next to your car in the driveway. Now watch the trick. The box by the car captures the car's weak wake-up pulse, that 125 kHz ping. And instead of letting it die at 2 meters, it relays that ping over the air to the box near your house. That second box replays the ping right next to your fob. Your fob, sitting on the hall table, hears what sounds exactly like the car and answers. Its encrypted reply gets relayed straight back to the car. And here is the heartbreaking part. The car does exactly what it was built to do. The fob really did reply. The rolling code is valid. The immobilizer handshake passes through untouched because nobody altered a single bit. They just carried it. The car cannot tell the signal traveled 30 meters instead of 2. Both locks see a legitimate conversation and both locks open. No forcing, no braking, no error. About 30 seconds and the engine is running. So if nothing was broken, what actually went wrong? So here's the whole thing in one line. The encryption never broke. The flaw is that the system trusts a weak signal to prove distance, and a relay defeats a distance check without ever reading the message inside. It doesn't need to understand the code. It just needs to carry it farther than the car expects. The real fixes attack distance directly. The strongest is ultra-wideband ranging, or UWB, which actually times how long the signal takes to fly. A relay always adds a few extra nanoseconds of delay, and UWB catches that delay and slams the door. Pair it with a motion-sensing fob that falls asleep when it's been sitting still, and there's nothing for a thief to wake at midnight. And the cheap defense that works tonight for free. A Faraday pouch. Even a metal tin or an old cookie box. Metal blocks the fob's radio entirely. If it can't hear the relayed wake-up, it can't answer, and the whole attack collapses at step 1. So convenience quietly turned proximity into the password. And relay attacks forge proximity. Tonight do 2 things. Check whether your car supports UWB or a motion sleep fob. And drop your keys in a metal tin by the door. Next up, how those rolling codes are actually generated, so no 2 ever repeat.